You know the frustration of the same problem reoccurring because the core issues have never really been got to. And so it increases frustration for you, for your teammates, and ultimately impacts your motivation, their motivation, and probably burnout. The purpose of this short video today is to let you know that there is another way for you to reclaim your ability to create positive change. And it's something that is a simple and yet often unappreciated concept in the workplace, and that's empathy. Now, empathy has been thought of as that's too soft a skill for the workplace. And the reality is that empathy in the workplace is a super skill. Now, as a coach, I use the power of listening and asking questions with my clients to create a safe space, insight, awareness, and new behaviors that meet their goals. And inevitably, they ask me to teach them how to use these skills because they see the power of it, and it's so important to their impact as a leader. So I want you to have these two basic skills that will impact the empathy and ultimately the communication. And you can do it in short doses, or when you repeat them frequently, it is a way to change the culture. So the first skill that I'm talking about is listening. Now, you've probably already heard that listening is a critical leadership skill, and it's true, but I want you to really pay attention to how I'm talking about listening. Because when I'm talking about listening, I'm not listening to us for the purpose of gathering data, for the purpose of figuring out how am I going to respond. I'm listening for the purpose of letting the speaker share their perspective, their wisdom, to hear themselves talk, to get the issues on the table. That's a purpose behind my listening. And so to help do that, tips to do that are: one, be as present as you can. That means not multitasking. And the second is to don't interrupt. It's amazing how much in our everyday interactions we cut somebody off, don't let them finish their thoughts. So be mindful of not interrupting. And the third tip to enhance your listening is to listen without judgment for where they are in the experience, what their perspective is, and even what their level of dealing with the issue is. And listening like that helps you not jump to the desire to solve their problem. And that leads to the second skill, which is asking questions. And you're asking questions differently also, because you're asking questions not with the intent of solving their problem, helping them find a solution, but to increase their awareness, help them probe what they already know, what they experience, to find their own solution. So in doing that, it's respectful, because you're not assuming that they can't solve the problem, but it's also developing the person in front of you because you're teaching them to trust what they know, and maybe asking them some questions to expand how they do solve problems. So questions that are open-ended, that begin with what, when, where, avoiding why. Why did you do that? That can come across, of course you wouldn't say that, but why questions sometimes make someone feel defensive. And that's not that shuts people down. And your intention with the questions you're asking is to open the space, open their perspective. So questions like, when was the last time you saw a situation like this? What are you curious about in this situation? What might you do next about this situation? What occurs to you? So those are the kinds of open-ended questions that help someone to explore what they know and how they think about it. And then, of course, you can ask more questions to help them deepen and get to a more specific solution. And it can be very simple, like this example I had with a client just recently. She is a physician executive, normally very powerful, confident, and she came to the session feeling quite disabled, disoriented, out of sorts in a way that I'm not used to seeing her. And when I asked her what was going on, she said, well, that colleague that they just hired was terminated. And I'm feeling like that could be me next. And so I listened to her, let her share what she was experiencing, her thoughts, her feelings, the impact that was having on her. And when her energy seemed to run out as she was done sharing um, what had her in this agitated state, I asked one question. I said, "What's next?" And her response to me was, well, the reality is I'm typically included in all the important decision making. Um, I have good relationships with my teammates, with my boss. There's probably really nothing that I need to do at this point in time. Nothing makes sense. So then she was unstuck. She felt heard. It increased our connection, and it can be that simple. And there's more to this, of course. And I've got an hour tape, a video actually, that I'm going to include the link to in the description that gives you more about these skills of listening and questions, and also more examples and vignettes about how you can use it in your leadership. I really encourage you to give it a try, even in a short vignette like I shared, because it will change the empathy content in your interactions, how you interact with people, and also you'll probably be surprised what you find out about yourself as a leader. I hope you enjoy that process.